How's it going, Cloud Chasers? Chris Ebner here with my second video. I hope that you guys subscribe to my channel. I did my last video on how to use an ohm calculator when cloud chasing to be safe, and went through the batteries and that kind of thing. I'm dripping Vapaholics custard pie today. It's Vapaholics is delicious e-liquid, man. Top-notch flavor, top-notch vapor production. So today we are going to build this, what I have right here. It's a Gplat Haywire build. This stuff is phenomenal. It's super soft, super thick, super low resistance. So, you'll need pliers. I have two sets. I have the short fat ones and I have the long skinny ones. I picked this set up at Home Depot for like $7. Came with these awesome super sharp wire cutters. You'll need scissors. You'll need an atomizer and a mod, obviously. You'll need a small screwdriver. This one's 2.8 millimeters. And you'll need Gplat Haywire. And also your wicking material and your ohm meter. Alright, so let's get started. I'm going to be building my coil today in the Mutation XL atomizer. It's basically just a larger version of the Mutation X. If you guys have not seen these atomizers before, I highly recommend them. They're made by Shenzhen in China. They're phenomenal, man. They're $35 to $39 for the XL. And you cannot get a better performing RDA out there for the price. It's an authentic, it's not a clone, it's well made. The posts are machined out of one piece. Excellent atomizers for cloud chasing. The airflow is extreme on these things, as you can see. And that's what you saw me vaping on here, is the smaller version, the 22 millimeter version, Mutation X. Okay, so let's get started. First, you're going to take your small screwdriver. It doesn't have to be 2.8, it can be 3 or 2, whatever. The smaller you wrap it, the lower your resistance is going to be. So the more wire, the more resistance. But with the Gplat Haywire, if you notice, I just push it and I wrap it around. Okay, the first wrap I don't count. 1, 2, 3, 4 wraps. Okay? And then I just grab my hand pliers here and I just pull it back until it's where I need it. And then hold it and pull, and that tightens the coil up for you. Alright, and then you can go ahead and snip it. I like to leave one lead shorter than the other. It makes it easier to thread it through the post holes. That's personal preference. You can do it however you like. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. And to neaten up your coil, you don't have to get it totally neat right now because we can do that after we put it into the atomizer. You just push it down into the base of the screwdriver. That's why I love these little screwdrivers over drill bits. Drill bits are difficult because they don't have that push up against to tighten your coil down. Okay, now you're going to thread your coil through the negative and the positive post. And then I bend it up. Just take this out of here so I don't burn myself. Okay, then I bend it up slightly to make it just about even with the top post. And then you're going to tighten down your negative. You're going to leave the positive open because we're building a dual coil. Now, once you have the negative post tightened down and you have it threaded through the positive post, just kind of push this over. And it just makes it line up nice and even with the center post. And then thread the screwdriver back out, and you've got one. And grab your second coil and repeat the process. This is relatively simple. I probably didn't need to make a whole tutorial video on it, but at least this way you guys can see exactly how I do it, and you can see exactly what resistance it comes out to. One thing that I do like to do sometimes is to pre-bend this haywire, which means just kind of trying to guess where the post hole is going to be and bend the wire accordingly. Not necessary. I just feel safer doing it with some of these Chinese-made atomizers because even, you have to keep in mind, even though it is a great buy for $40 for the Mutation XL, it's not the sturdiest piece of hardware in the world. It's not like a $90 Filipino-made authentic. Okay. And then I'm going to line these coils up right where I want them. I'm going to clip some of this excess off after pushing it through there. Okay. And tighten it down the negative post once I position this coil where I want it. Okay. Get the other one where I want it. Now you have to make sure you're not touching, you don't want the main body of the coil to be touching that positive post. It can be close, but you don't want it to be touching it. It will cause a short. Okay, tighten down the positive now. And you want those leads of the positive, in the positive post, not to, you don't want them to be in there all bent and crooked and nasty. You want them to be laying down next to each other. Okay, now just kind of bend these down a little bit. Try to get them even because you want the coils to behave the same. You want them to have the same distance of wick, so that way that one's not way higher than the other. Because otherwise you'll pull more juice from one coil than the other, and you'll end up dry burning one of your coils, while the other one has still got juice in it. Okay, and this is why I have these handy pliers, because it's easier to grab these leads and force them to go where I want. It also helps sometimes to keep the screwdriver threaded through, because then you can position them a little bit easier. Hold them down now that they're where I want them, and tighten that positive post all the way down. You want to make sure that when you have these, you're pinning the wire down between the bolt and the bottom of the post. Otherwise, you will have shorts. And this process takes a little bit different time for each coil, depending on how well you pre-bent the wire. And it should come out looking something like this. Now, next step: snip the leads at the ends of the post so that you don't have all that excess wire. It neatens it up a little bit. You can put your battery back in now. Now fire your coil, and it should burn from the inside out. If it doesn't right away, that's not a huge concern because we're going to adjust it. You saw how the lead burnt first. So now I'm going to grab the coil, okay, and I'm going to tighten it down using my flat pliers. You want all the wires to be touching, the whole coil to be touching, so that it's completely uniform like that. And man, is that pretty. Now it should burn from the inside out. Closer. You want the whole thing to burn evenly. You have to make sure they're also squeezed the same tightness because you want them to heat up evenly. Boom. That's what I'm talking about. Alright. Now this is the point where you're going to place your top cap back on. Make sure that your posts are tightened down all the way. Okay, put your top cap on real quick, unscrew your atomizer, place it on your ohm meter. This is where my last video went through. This is going to be a low build. Okay, now, I know that the resistance should be lower than 0.14. So, obviously one of my posts is not tightened down all the way, and there it was. It was my center post, 0.087. I'm getting a new ohm meter, you guys, so don't worry about that. Now, what I showed you last time, take out your phone or wherever you have your ohm calculator. Okay, and input the top voltage of your batteries, which is going to be 4.2. Your resistance, mine was 0.084 was the lowest I saw. And then calculate. I'm running 50 amps, which means if I'm running it alone on a single battery mod, I need to pulse my battery because all my batteries limit out at the top. The top one, I think this battery is 40 amps. So I need to pulse it if I'm running it on a single mod. Fortunately, I'm not. I have a dual parallel battery unregulated box mod. I highly recommend these. I talked about it a little bit in my last video. This one's made by Potts Box. It's just copper wiring in a plywood box with a heavy-duty switch and a 510 connection. And it can handle anything that you're going to dish out to it. And it doubles your amp limit because these batteries are rated for 30 continuous amps, but when you have two of them running in tandem together, it doubles your amp limit. So it has like a 200 amp pulse, which is more than I'll ever use. Organic cotton ball. Just unravel it. You can buy pre-straightened cotton. I believe it's called cotton bacon. It's a good product. It's just boiled organic cotton. It works fine. I have some of it. Alright, twist up the end. Insert it through your coil. Now, I have a really deep atomizer that I'm using today. So, for me, my cotton is going to be a little longer than your guys will, most likely, if you're using a 22mm atomizer. Because the deck is really far down there. There's different arguments about does the cotton actually need to touch the deck because you're dripping on top of it. It all depends. This atomizer, it does because it's so big. A lot of the times it won't hit the drip won't hit the coil or won't hit the cotton, so it needs to be soaked up off the deck. Repeat the process with your second coil. I snip them just about the length that I think they are going to need to be to touch the deck of the atomizer. Okay, and then tuck them down in, and I'll show you here real quick. This is really important. I've had people ask me lots of wicking questions, especially when they're new. You only want it to be enough to be taut. You do not want it to be overly tight where you can't pull it through. You just want it to be in there nicely. You don't want it to be loose though. And when you're done wicking, you need to be able to see a gap here underneath your coil. See how I can insert the screwdriver? You want air to flow through there, okay? That's really, really important because airflow is key when you're chasing clouds, my friends. Okay. Next, juice it up. You want to get it good and saturated. This is just some homemade DIY cotton candy, e-liquid, 95% VG. I was just finishing it off because it's incredibly cheap. Way cheaper than my Vapeaholics custard pie is. Okay. I usually start at the coils and work my way out because you need to make sure that the cotton inside the coil is wet, otherwise it'll burn your cotton off. Okay, let's check out our results, guys. I'm going to go ahead and line the air holes on your atomizer up with your coils. I'm going to pop these out and put some fresh batteries in. This is another battery that I do recommend. It's the purple 35 amp eFest, 2500 milliamps, 35 amp limit. So you can see with two of them, obviously I'm under it, so there's no danger. Here we go. See what you can do. Choked myself out on the flavor there. I'll step back so you guys can actually see how it performs. Alright, and last thing to check for, your cotton should be completely dry like mine is now